G2 and are your spring split champions.
3 rookies prove themselves worthy of the top 4 in the EU LCS.
A double kill from Perks! This guy is a madman! He can do it! Oh, Memento! You beautiful man!
Guess the Quadra gotta be a pizza for Kobe!
It's time to find out who will rise. This is the EU LCS. Welcome to week 6 of the EU LCS Summer Split. It is Pride weekend here in Berlin, and we are proud to show our support to our LGBTQ+ colleagues, players, and community worldwide. There will be lots of celebrations around the city. We'll also be sporting our badges the entire weekend as a sign of support, but we'll also be covering the EU LCS. I'm Eva Schock, supporter, joined by Martin de Visio Lunge, and a very familiar face to some of you who may have been watching the EU LCS for a while, the head coach of Mad Lions in the LVP Superliga, Alvar Aranea Martin Alienar. Wow, what an introduction.
That was the best introduction I ever had.
Welcome. Awesome to have you.
Thank you very much.
So, I mean, you've been around, now you're coaching in the Superliga, but you have been around the European scene for a very, very long time.
Very
I think
long time.
the Fisher looked up exactly all the teams that you played for in the past.
I mean, look, it's the biggest teams, at least. SK Gaming was probably the greatest achievement when you went to Worlds with them back in 2012, so a long time ago, of course. And then in the LCS, Alternate, when I actually want to highlight...
They were really good.
He was actually really good in that team. You guys were winning a lot of games until Lemon Dog stomped everyone.
It was a time that you were only playing Nami, right?
It is true.
Like, only time
there
you
was
were
a
playing
one-trick
was
support
Nami?
on another team.
Okay.
But, of course, onto Millennium. Then you became a coach right after that for...
Fnatic.
Fnatic, Origin.
I was coaching Fnatic for like 6 months, 7 months, the end of spring, then summer. We went to Worlds with Fnatic, and then I stepped down for a bit. I was doing just like streaming, YouTube and stuff, and then I joined Origin twice. And then I went to National League to Spain, because it's where I want to live. So
long list of achievements.
And now you are here, and we do want to dive a bit deeper into your personality. So we have prepared the special DX Racer hot seat for you, which for the occasion we will call the Fuego seat. This is not very, but there we go. And because
it's not Trevor hiding down there this time.
No,
it is in fact the Spanish flag.
I must say, absolutely huge flag. So you feel at home. You say you like living there. Plus, we're going to Madrid, so we're going to start getting into that frame of mind. So the Fuego seat, we're going to start it off easy. You have 10 seconds to introduce yourself.
Okay.
What would you say?
My name is Alvar Aranea. I've been playing League of Legends for 9 years since the beta, and I'm here right now, I guess. 10 seconds.
Proudest EU LCS moment?
Proudest LCS moment, probably it's when I qualified to Worlds with Ocelot, with SK Gaming beating CLGU. They were coming from OEN Summer, and they were the favorite, and we beat them, went to Worlds.
That was epic at Gamescom. I remember that very well. On a scale of Expected to Mythy, how relevant are you in the Spanish scene?
From Expected to Mythy, I would call myself Ocelot, like on the middle of it, but I guess Peke is quite relevant, he's quite famous. Mythy is the opposite, because he was never into Spain, so I would call me a bit into the middle.
Okay.
Who's the most overrated team in the EU LCS right now?
More overrated team in the LCS? That's hard to say. Probably I'm gonna say or Splice or Vitality, because I think last year they were really good. Now they are not that good, and their performance is not being that well as before.
Okay, we'll dive a bit deeper into that in a bit. Why was Snoopy a better jungler than you?
That never happened. I don't know who wrote that question, but that's
it was Medic.
It was definitely Medic.
I mean, the good thing Snoopy had was great leadership. I was more as a caller, so I guess we were quite different.
You were better at the game.
Very quick story. In the ELCS studio, you could always hear when Ocelot or Aranea were winning, because they were screaming so loud, the entire building was shaking. Which actually leads me to this question: were you ever the best jungler in Europe?
No, I was never the best jungler in Europe, because there was a friendly guy, I'm not going to say the opposite word, there was a friendly guy called Diamond Prox that he was by far always better than me.
Do you miss the EU LCS?
I miss the LCS, but not because of the league itself, by the people, because all the people who is here, there is a lot of friends of mine in the past, so I miss that a lot.
Who's the most improved player in the EU LCS?
I would probably call Memento this split. Is one of the players who improved the most. Or I could probably, yeah, I would say Memento.
Alrighty, and finally, who will raise the trophy in Madrid?
That's hard. My brain says Misfits, because right now they are probably the best team in terms of macro. How they play, it's beautiful. But my heart is going to say Fnatic, because I've been a Fnatic. I know a lot of players of Fnatic, especially Soas and Reckless. So my heart says Fnatic, so I hope.
Okay, thank you for that. We got to know a bit more about you, and you think it's going to be a Misfits Fnatic final. That could be a very nice one. And by the way, if you guys want to join us in Madrid, there's still tickets on sale. Get them at eu.llesports.com/Madrid. There we go. And now you guys get to warm us up there. Since you guys are not very good at football anymore in Spain, at least you can be good at League of Legends. A legend.
I mean, I think their country never didn't reach finals as well, so...
Alrighty, let's not open that can of worms. Let's focus in on the EU LCS. We're going to take a look at the standings, seeing how we are past the halfway point of the split. We are counting down to playoffs as we speak, and we have two bits of very important news. First up, H2K. They will be starting with Kadril instead of Selfie in the mid lane due to a medical emergency. And Team Vitality has, bit shockingly, for me at least, subbed in Kikis and taken Gilius out of their roster for today at least. Guys.
Big changes. Very big changes. I didn't think Vitality would make any changes, but then I looked at the standings again and I realized we always talked about them as a top 4 team for effectively 6 months now. They're currently sitting just outside playoffs in the current standings, so they probably felt like something had to change. I'm still surprised it's Gilius, because I actually think he performed just fine in the game, but we never know what happens behind the scene.
That we don't.
I think it's impressive, because I think, as the Fisia said, there is a lot of things going on with Vitality that we probably don't know. But I actually don't think as well that Gilius was the problem. I think there is more problems. Looking at how they performed last split, the main carry in that team, the main player in that team was Jizuke, and he's not able to perform anymore. Probably because of the champions that he's being played, he cannot go split push with something like a Syria Rise. He has to play some mages like Zoe and Lulu. So I don't think that's his playstyle at all, and I think they are getting punished by that. And right now, the one who has to carry is Attila, and he's not able to carry because they're not giving the resources enough to carry him.
We'll dive a bit deeper into Vitality in just a second. I do want to put the attention on the top of the table. Misfits did drop that game last week to Fnatic, and it wasn't pretty, but still 9-1 at the top of the table. Fnatic and G2 Esports, clear top 3. Alvar, what do you think of the strength of those 3 teams if we look at the rest of the league?
I think they have like a legacy behind. They've been like performing the best from last year, especially Fnatic and G2. They've been the 2 best teams in Europe for the last 2-3 years, I guess. And Misfits just came up last year as well. They were really, really strong last year when they went to Worlds. And this first split on a spring, they didn't perform that well. This split, they are doing really well in terms of macro, like how they use TP, how they move on the map. It's incredible. And I think they are by far the 3 best teams right now we have in Europe.
It's also pretty rare we have 3 good teams at the top fighting for first place. We typically have like 1 or 2 teams kind of above everyone else. So I think it's really cool that we have a trio now where, yeah, okay, G2 lose a game to Rocket, yet you're still not 100% sure they're not going to suddenly beat Fnatic or Misfits the following day. And that's the cool thing about these guys fighting for first. I'm okay, it's only a 3-man race for now. I don't need 10 teams to all fight for first place.
I mean, the race for top 6 is what we're looking at as well for those teams that can make it into playoffs. Everyone under Misfits, Fnatic, and G2 Esports.
Yeah.
And I asked you guys to think about who for you, who is the real deal? Who's going to make it to playoffs? Who has what it takes under these teams? And well, the first one we all want to talk about is Team Vitality. After their fantastic start in spring, making it to the semifinals with those rookies, it's a different story now. And with that change coming in, what can we expect?
What we can expect, I don't think it's going to change too much in terms of play style, but it might change something in terms of the mindset or the shot calling of the team. Kikis is a very vocal member, we know that, so that might be where they're looking for a change. But it's important to look at Jizuke specifically. Erne already talked about him and how they played last split and why they found success. He was individually getting ahead. He was the one going to a side lane, 1v2 killing people, applying more pressure than almost any player in Europe could do for Vitality. So it wasn't a pretty play style. It was just very hard to play against, very aggressive. They're not doing that anymore.
Do you think that there wasn't actually that much macro planning there? That it
Definitely
was
not.
really just the fact that Jizuke could carry?
Obviously, if you call macro how they move in the map and how Gilius was pathing always to mid lane, that's probably macro. But it was more of the micro of Jizuke because he was really good and he was playing the champions he was more comfortable with, like these two champions, Rice and Asir especially. And with that champions and Gilius just coming to his lane all the time and just winning the 2v2s, they were always ahead. And then I remember that play with Rice that he was killing Fnatic, Asir and Vladimir 2v1 bot lane. That was actually a mistake. Like, Jizuke should not be there. Like, that's a macro mistake from him, but still, he was so ahead by Gilius that he can pull that off.
And that's how you get 7-0 in the start. The thing about Vitality last bit, though, team fighting and late game was a bit of an issue. The Baron calls, and of course, dropping games once we went past 30 minutes. This split, because again, they're not doing the Jizuke crazy split push style, they have to team fight a lot. They group mid lane, they look for these engages, but the right carries are not getting ahead. So they're not winning these team fights. I would love to see Attila being the guy they can rely on, but it's not been happening lately, and it needs to happen.
And that is why we are keeping a close eye on Vitality, especially this weekend, and especially the fact that they've brought in Kikis. We'll see how that changes the dynamic. A second team that I want to talk about is Schalke 04, because they are on a 4-game winning streak. To the naked eye, it looks like they have turned it around and they are finally on track. But the Fisho, you wanted to temper the hype just a little bit.
Seeing as I guess I was the main person to start the hype train.
You're conducting it.
Yeah, basically. But after you asked me, 2 weeks ago, can these guys make playoffs? We said, if they do well against these bottom teams, H2K, Giants, Unicorns, then they will make playoffs. They got 4-0, the last 4 games. Perfect. We couldn't ask for more. Problem is, the play is not always perfect. And now they have Fnatic and G2 this week. So I wanted to slow down the hype a little bit. I will say playoffs team, 100%. Top team in Europe yet? No, not convinced.
It's going to be hard to be a top team, especially when you have these 3 teams that are Fnatic, G2, and Misfits. They are quite ahead of them. I think, as the Fisher said, Schalke is obviously a top team, a playoff team, but I don't think he's going to fight to go to the finals because I think they are not on that level yet.
Do they have a chance to go to Worlds?
I would say they have a low chance, also because of no points last split, so it would have to go through a gauntlet realistically, unless there's surprises in playoffs. I think they're relying too much on a single player.
The Duck?
The Duck. There you go. Look at that transition right there. Year of the Duck. It's happening.
Don't call it out, man. We're just smooth.
The thing with Schalke now is they've learned it's not about Chachi carrying. It's not about the bot lane carrying. All resources goes to mid. He's on Yasuo. He's on different carry champs.
I mean, the other thing is, if they come back to the AD carry meta, Upset is a really good AD carry. He didn't prove himself last split.
Yeah, I was about to say.
He didn't prove himself last split, but I still believe on this kid. I still believe this guy can be on Hansama level.
He needs to do that if it goes back to AD carry meta. For now, it is Nuke Dog only. And against caps and perks, you don't have an advantage in the mid lane.
Well, this is the important bit we're getting to. Is Schalke the real deal? Is it the year of the Duck?
They're the real deal as a playoff team, yes.
Yes, but if they beat Fnatic and G2 and Misfits, all 3 of them in the next 2 weeks, then we can definitely say they are a top team. Nuke Duck said himself, it's only the year of the Duck if we go to 0 this week, and they're going to have to start by beating Fnatic later on. So that'll be a tall order, but we're taking a look at Schalke at the last game of the day. And the last team I want to talk about in terms of the playoff race is one that you wanted to talk about, Alvar, and it's quite a surprise to me. You want to give some praise to the Unicorns. They're better than they seem and their record suggests.
Yeah, I think there's always, like, in every single year, there is one team that is called the Scream God.
The Scream God.
Or the typical team who goes on the training during the week, doing really well on scrims, performing really well, having their laners killing 1v1, having really strong performance on scrims, but then they come to the States, they come to LCS, and their performance is not that good. We saw last weekend the game versus Fnatic, how Caps was just rolling over Exile, and that's something you don't want to see from a team that you're hoping to go to playoffs. I still believe the team has the potential with a player like Cold, that I think he's right now one of the best junglers in Europe, or one of the smartest junglers in Europe. So I still have my faith for them to go to playoffs.
So we're tallying the 3 last spots in playoffs. We already talked about Vitality. Do you guys still think is going to make it at least?
It's going to be hard. I think Splice Vitality, I don't know.
But so this is what I love. I feel like there are so many teams who can still make playoffs. Rocket, Vitality, Unicorns, Schalke, Giants even have been winning games lately. It makes it so difficult because now with Kikis in there, we don't 100% know if that makes Vitality better or not. We don't know if Schalke will lose the next 3 games against the top teams and suddenly they're sitting outside top 6 again. I'm just afraid with Unicorns, time is running out.
It is running out.
And it's like last split, they lose too many games early on, so when they start performing, when they finally click on stage, they have to win almost every game to make it in, and then that's pretty tough.
Well, we'll see. In any case, as you know, we don't have all the knowledge. The official sometimes dares to claim so, but we want to know what you guys think. Who is the real deal? Who is going to make it into the playoffs? And tell us why at LOL Esports using the hashtag ReadyCheck, and we will read them out later in the show. Well, for now, though, a lot of changes coming in to player changes as well as a patch change. We'll be playing on patch 8.14. Some new changes on the Rift. Official, break them down for us.
Yeah, so this patch was it was kind of interesting because there were so many buffs and nerfs, but they were very small ones for the majority of the patch. But there were some big ones that will change the meta a bit. The first one is the change to jungle items with Smite, where funnel comps will get hurt a lot because of this. You no longer get the full amount of gold if you have, you know, these items and the Smite, and you go into a lane and you grab the minions, unless you get the full enchantment. So it's delayed when you can get full amount of gold out of this, and this will hurt the Smite strategies and especially the funnel comp. In the middle, that's Storm Racer. This item is one of the best items in the game, and it just got buffed again. Like, it is actually insane how strong Storm Racer is going to be on so many different picks in the current meta. You're going to see it on AD carries, you're going to see it on things like suddenly, you know, top laners that can actually one-shot you, roaming champions everywhere. This item will be built, and it is a big deal. The last thing, it is about teleport. It has been now nerfed again. I want to say it's been a while since it got nerfed last time, but it is a minute longer cooldown. There's also longer cooldown if you cancel it. We're still going to see teleport quite a bit, but it is definitely not as strong as before. And it does punish teams a lot if you fail your TP, if you cancel it even, or if you just go to the wrong place at the wrong time. So I think some of the weaker macro teams will get punished due to this change and might have to switch off teleports if needed.
Well, is there any team that comes to mind that will maybe become worse because they just like to TP back to base and then come back if they make a mistake or this or that?
I mean, the team we were praising, or I was praising, was Misfits, but they don't TP to go back to lane. They use TP to help the other lane. So bot lane has double TP, top lane has TP, so every single time they are in trouble, they TP from the other lane. But I don't think it's going to change for them. I think they're going to keep running the TP. I think they're going to keep working on their macro with this. So I think
top laners definitely will still run TP.
Yeah.
I think you might just see 1 or 2 less per game, but we've had games with 8 teleports, you know, so it's not really like we're not suddenly going to see it at all.
They can stand to die down a little bit. Now we know about item changes, about teleport changes, but we also want to know about champions changes. And for that, Verius, he put on a costume and he highlighted some new and upcoming champions in picks to watch. Let's check it out.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Picks to Watch. We're going to be looking at patch 8.14 and some of the fun and interesting champions that could be making their way into pro play. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. First up, we've got an armored badass who loves to do a little skydiving. It's Pantheon.
You know, now that I think of it, I've always wanted to be a big.
Before he gets to dropping in from above, he's got jungle camps to clear, and the buff to his early attack speed should help him get through his pathing in a flash. When you add that onto his high base damage and movement speed, plus the block from his Aegis protection, it gets even easier for him to gank and skewer his enemies for some early game shish kebab. Oh, and be on the lookout for flashless opponents, because his point and click crowd control means he's just a hop away from getting within Spear's reach. As if this wasn't enough, the Artisan of War gets even more useful at level 6, when his semi-global ultimate becomes a great tool to drop in and even the odds when skirmishes and fights break out. His main damage abilities scale incredibly well, meaning he doesn't need that many items to cut his enemies down to size. Speaking of items, Pantheon's build path is straightforward but fairly flexible. He'll always start off with a Warrior enchant, which can be followed up with a Black Cleaver, Guardian Angel, or Sterix Gauge, depending on what the game calls for. Pantheon's built to pack a punch in the early game so that he can start rolling into a spear-throwing snowball. He has to make it a point to grab an early lead and then look for flanks later on, because if he doesn't, it'll be Pantheon's short range and lack of teamfight utility that disgraces the Art of War.
Is it hot in here, or is that just seeing Verius in one of those Pantheon suits? I think it's just warm in here.
It's definitely warm in here. That's definitely it.
So Pantheon, guys, what are we thinking? Always an amazing champion to watch in competitive and to hear cast, but is it a realistic one for competitive, Alvar?
I mean, I remember myself playing that champion, but it was mainly because the champion requires 0 skill, so I could be able to play it. But no, I don't think we're gonna see it on LCS. I think for solo queue is really good. I don't think in LCS it has the potential to be a strong jungler.
We will see it in other regions where we have teams who are ready to try more snowball strategies.
You're talking about LPL right now?
LPL, NA as well. They showed us Pantheon and Rift Rivals. Like, it's one of those champions that can always work in a very specific setup, but very quickly ends up looking super weak because something backfires.
We'll see. Maybe we'll see it in our match of the week because that pits the rising Schalke and the EULCS champions Fnatic against each other in honestly a monumental matchup in the race for playoffs. Let's take a look.
This is a team that's just in form. They have a lot to prove, and they're going up against a team and an organization that has proven everything. This could be the time that Schalke earns a win against Fnatic.
Fnatic were losing this game for 23 minutes. Kaisa is online, and Fnatic destroy Schalke.
We just lost because we were like not experienced playing against, this strategy, and if the same case would happen, we would win 10 out of 10 times.
The first time these two teams played as well was Schalke absolutely demolishing Fnatic.
He has the play, gold card is propped, is primed, is locked down.
And then losing in like 2 minutes. And they're absolutely going to be looking for a little bit of revenge onto Fnatic.
The fact that they weren't able to close out that game with like an 8k goal lead at 20 minutes definitely makes me confident going up against them next week.
Caps versus Nukeduck, 2 of the longest running best mid laners in the region.
The poke of G2.
Oh, Nukeduck dodged this! Jumps back onto Perks, the Hexa Gunblade, and Perks is down!
I mean, Nukeduck has had a lot of good games against worse teams generally. I feel like when he goes up against me, I don't know if he's afraid of me or something, but I've never really felt threatened by him.
You got Caps, arguably the best mid laner in the entirety of Europe. If you want someone to really bring it to Caps, Nukeduck, he's your guy.
When he tries to step a bit too far and you just punish him and play well, yeah, you can punish him.
Fnatic are not the unquestionable best team in summer.
Caps is obliterated.
The deduction of Reckless, him not being on the Rift is actually pretty huge.
Mad Caps is going to jump in with the help of the Black Shield. Nukeduck gets a gold card out because the shield timed out. Amazing puts the tactical sweep to the face of Caps.
Amazing's come in now. He's in the spot where he can really prove that he's not all bark without bite. He lost his job to Broxer and now they're going up head to head. I'm pretty certain Amazing's going to want to teach him a thing or two.
I was the one that took his spot. He's gonna want to beat me more than anything else. And I want to show that I'm the better player.
He's decent, but I don't know how it would look like if his laners weren't Caps. So what?
Oh, look at that damage! Caps destroys Hansama.
I could easily bring back my 4 teammates from Fnatic Academy and still show amazing boost in both.
It's important for us that our comp matches up against their comp in a good way, and then it will be easy for us to play out the game.
They have like an upgrade in every role. I don't really see anywhere where they have an advantage.
Taking the junglers in mind, I think me and Caps are just on another level right now.
An early game comp would actually destroy them everywhere on the map.
14, maybe even 15, and he hasn't died this game. The immortal Caps looking to stack it up.
Schalke will take down Fnatic in our match of the week because they're just on form. They're on fire. They're on a winning streak. They have a style that can contain and control the chaos that Fnatic brings to the Rift.
He said, what? That's not going to happen. Fnatic, they've got too much talent on their lineup. Year of the Duck, what about Year of the Clap?
Woo! All right. We have some fighting words from the casters and from the players. Of course, we're looking at the Year of the Duck versus the Year of the Clap or the Caps.
He's actually pointing at this.
He's pointing at this, yeah.
Yes, at the bit.
He's setting
For
it
someone
up.
with such good mechanics, he's not that...
Unless he's
Heavens.
mind gaming us and he's actually doing it on purpose.
But on a more serious note, this is an absolutely huge game because this would, in probably one game, put Nukeduck and Schalke at the absolute top of our minds as one of the best teams in Europe. And on the other side, Fnatic, they want that first place spot. They don't want to see Misfits there. They want to get as much wins as possible.
Also, with how badly they destroyed Misfits last week, you kind of just want to see Fnatic continue that for a couple more weeks and just show that they are the best team in Europe, because they've actually lost a bunch of games already. And whenever we get a little bit excited, they drop that one game. You're like, what's happening with Fnatic? Do they need Reckless yet or what? But I think this Fnatic team can beat Schalke.
The thing is, we saw last week how Schalke played, how shaky they were in some of the games, and then you see the opposite, how Fnatic destroyed Unicorns of Love and how they destroyed Misfits. They didn't show anything special that you are like, okay, this is a new strat, they're going to play like this. No. They're just doing new things, coming up with new strats, and snowballing different lanes completely every game. So I think it's going to be really hard for Schalke to
Caps
beat the
on
Fnatic like
Irelia and Wukong, by the way. This
Wukong,
guy,
yeah.
he doesn't care about the meta. He just does whatever he
I
wants.
mean, he's always done that. He played the Shadow Assassin Kane when everyone said Kane was a garbage champion.
Oh, can't wait, can't wait. Nuke Duck versus Caps. Broxa versus Amazing. That'll be in our final game of the night. Fnatic versus Schalke. Also our match of the week. And 4 tremendous games in the race for playoffs. Before that, I'm looking at that Vitality versus Giants. Joko versus now Kikis and not Gilius. Yeah, I don't know how it's going to change everything. And if Vitality is kind of putting themselves at a disadvantage. Or...
I mean, at the same time, it's the old Giant roster versus Giant once again. So there's a lot of story in this matchup.
Do you think that Kikis is just going to be in that game and just be his old self again, or is it going to take some time?
The first thing is like Kikis hasn't been playing lately because he's right now playing on Illumina, a Polish team. He was playing on Illumina Polish team, and the National League of Poland, they are not playing anymore from the last 2 months. So they haven't been screaming anything. So he came up here to put on the role of Gilius, and I think it's going to be quite hard to feed that Zeus.
Let's see, a lot of good games. G2 versus Splice before our match of the week. We're also going to look at our predictions, but before we do, I just want to take a moment to look at something from last week. This glorious lit up. Now, I'm doing really bad in predictions. Foxdrop, if you're watching, you're slightly more pathetic than me because you're actually last. And I am second to last. Even the viewers are beating me.
I want to highlight that Law. Law got 4 out of 5.
And Law got Splice correct again as well. She always bets on it, and most of the time it pans out.
Yeah.
So TLDR, the females did really well last week.
You guys did
great.
Let's ignore the tweet you sent out saying you were gambling on basically every prediction.
Except for those.
Of course, except for the last 2. You had them locked in.
I wasn't gambling at all.
Was that an H2K prediction up there?
That was because I followed the crazy man's rant. I thought I'd do it. Any case, let's take a look at the predictions for today. Alvar, you also casted your vote. Let's see if there's a lot of differences. Oh, you see the Giants upset over Vitality.
Yep. I mean, it's once again, like I said before in the finals, my head says Vitality, but my heart is going for Giants, my Spanish team, my Spanish friends. So I hope they can take the game.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to change to Giants as well, but
you can't anymore.
No, I know.
Can't anymore.
I'm on 50-50 here, but.
And also for all the praise we gave Schalke and the Year of the Duck, literally no one voted for them.
I mean, to get Fnatic last week looked so good, man. These guys are insane when they get ahead.
Wrong. And also a lot of faith in Roccat. But if there's any game they could drop, it might probably be
this is
H2K with a sub.
This is the 3rd day in a row where I have the exact same predictions as the fans.
There you go.
It's gone pretty bad.
So is that good for you or for them? I don't know.
You don't want to lose versus the fans, so you literally vote the same.
Yes.
So at the end of the season,
that's all I do.
Guys, we do need to move on because we're only 2 minutes and about 40 seconds away from Unicorns of Love versus Misfits. We talked a bit about Unicorns of Love before. Alvar, you have a lot of faith in them. What's it going to take for them here to beat Misfits, who are still the #1 team?
I mean, I don't really think they're going to beat Misfits, but at the same time, I think versus G2 and versus Fnatic, they have a harder time because their mid laners like Perks and Caps are so dominant compared with Senkungs. Senkungs is really good, but he's not the hard carry on that team. In these other 2 teams, in G2 and Fnatic, they need the mid lane to hard carry, and that's why Exiles is having a trouble versus them. So I think if Unicorns of Love can beat any top team, it's going to be Misfits. Still, it's going to be quite hard.
Well, if we look at their strength of schedule, they have Misfits, Giants, Splice, and Vitality. I would say it's like medium, very good teams. But the kicker here is they do need to beat them all to get to playoffs, most likely.
So you can afford to lose the Misfits today. You have to beat Giants, Splice, and Vitality then. And those 3 teams, they're in the middle. You know, Vitality trending downwards right now. Splice is 5-1, so they're trending up. There's some tough games in this, but I think if you're Unicorns and if you make playoffs, you're 3-1 by the end of the next 2 weeks.
You're kind of killing the hype by saying, oh, they can stand to lose to Misfits. That's not
I'm just saying, if there's one game here you can stand to lose is Misfits. If you win here, bam, 4-0, go for it.
Well, let's turn it on the other side. Let's look at Misfits. You just said it. They got absolutely spanked by Fnatic last week. They had nothing to do almost in that game from minute 1, from that first shenanigans in the top lane. So is Misfits going to make a statement here? Going to want to say, guys, we are the #1 team. That was just a fluke.
I mean, I don't think they get that destroyed. I think Fnatic was leaving 0 windows of plays to Misfits to try anything, to force anything on top side, on bot side for the TPs. they gave them like zero window to that. So I'm not gonna say it's a stomp by Fnatic, but I think it was more than something surprising to see Wukong working that well with the jungle and having, I believe it was Spike roaming to mid lane all the time,
And
used to pressure.
I called a stomp because Misfits couldn't do anything in that game other than one gang bot lane. They're going to turn around this game against Unicorns. There's a lot less pressure on them in terms of the players they're playing against, and I don't think any of their lanes will struggle.
All right, we will see if Misfits can come back and fight back from that loss last week and beat the Unicorns of Love. We are about ready to hit the Rift, so let's head down to our casters and get into the action.
Thank you very